Welcome to episode 2 of Conversations with Buck and Helena, where we talk about life principles that are part of the fourth way. Last episode we talked to me. Well, I couldn't talk to myself. I can talk to myself, and I do. But we talked about how...
Actually, you talk to yourself a lot. I've learned not to respond when you're talking to yourself.
I do. That's how I digest stuff. So anyway, the last episode focused on me and... what did we talk about? What was the principle? Self-observation? No, get yourself off the playing field.
We talked about baiting.
We talked about baiting. So that was me. If you're interested in what it's like to be baited by somebody and get wrapped up in the drama, go back to episode 1. But
not only get wrapped up in the drama, but how to not get wrapped up in the drama so that you can become free from people that bait.
And if you don't know what it means to be baited, check out episode 1. We talk all about what it means to be baited. So this episode, we're going to focus a little bit more on Buck and how he's used one of the life principles to improve his life. And part of what we do, these episodes are part of Harris Consulting, which offers a series of programs for people to help them evaluate and improve their lives by using a set of principles called the fourth way. We refer to it informally as the work, with a capital W. So let's just get started.
Let's get started.
We never have any idea what we're going to talk about.
No.
So it's just...
The agreement is one person's going to start. It's today's Helena's day.
One person's going to start. One person's going to start. So one of the questions I think that comes up for me is, how does one get started? Why do you need a set of principles to live by? What is the work, and how did you come to get involved with it? So I know that you have a pretty interesting story that goes way back.
Way back.
In your life.
25 years back.
And you didn't just dive into the work. You had sort of stumbled and rolled and fell into it. But you started with a story that we refer to as the step book in the snow.
The step book in the snow story. This is great. I got tingles.
Yeah, so you had... you...
This is good.
Again, and we'll use a lot of terms that are like, you're like, what? What is that? But as the episode goes on, as our conversation goes on, you'll come to understand what this means. You were building a bulk. Up into your life, you were building a bulk, and...
What do you mean by building a bulk?
Well, that's what we're going to...
Oh, shall I
That's
explain
what
it?
I'm hoping that you will... I'm hoping that you'll describe how your bulk led you to the step book in the snow and then subsequently the work.
So I was in my 20s. I had my own business. It was going pretty well. I was very busy. It was a food business. I was married. I had 2 small children. And I was drinking very, very heavily. I called it partying. People that lived with me and around me didn't necessarily think of it as partying. But to me, it was partying. And when someone would say, why did you drink so much? I'd be like, why are you getting in the way of my party? You know, it was partying. But there was a series of episodes where I was binge drinking and, you know, was just becoming more and more unhappy. And one morning I was in the shower and I remember this feeling coming over me that I started thinking about what I was going to drink that night. Like, I had this strong feeling like, I need to plan now. I need to start thinking about it now because it's the only way I'm going to get through the day. And it kind of freaked me out. It was really scary, but it didn't quite make me hit the wall yet. I had one more big episode of just over drinking and being out of control. And I had a woman that worked for me. Her name was Lynn. And Lynn became my go-to person, and I don't know why.
Go-to for what?
That morning when I got up, I was, again, you know, like anybody who's in a cycle of addiction and codependency, when you come out of the cycle, when you crash and hit bottom, you need someone to go to.
Yeah, there's somebody.
There's somebody out there. You don't know why, but they kind of represent something to you. So I went to Lynn Johnson. And I probably shouldn't have said Lynn Johnson, but that's who she was.
It's okay.
And well, she's near and dear to my heart. So um, went to her and I said, Lynn, you may not know this, but I have a drinking problem. And she said, really? She wasn't exactly stunned. I was 30 years old, just about 30 years old. Actually, had just turned 30 years old. And she knew some people that had a group, and I wanted to be part of that group. She went to them and asked if she could bring me to a meeting. And they said no.
Why did they say no?
They said send him to AA and see what he gets there. Because there's only a certain amount of energy in a group, and so if a lot of people just start coming in, it kind of gets washed out, you know? It's like 4 people on a bottle of beer, nobody gets anywhere, you know? You gotta...
There's the party again.
You gotta make sure you got that figured out. So Lynn came back to me and said, Richard and Joanne, they were the people that had the group, want you to go to AA. And I was like, all right, and I didn't go. And I waited.
What was your reasoning?
I didn't want to go to AA. I didn't want to have to admit I was an alcoholic, maybe. I don't know. I don't think I really cared that much, but it just seemed like that was the long way to what I thought I wanted. I wanted to be with these people. I didn't know why. AA was like way over here. It didn't seem like... I was immature and I wanted what I thought I wanted, and I wasn't going to allow anything else in. So I didn't go to AA. So I waited maybe 5 days, 6 days. And then I had this food business, and I was in the kitchen, and a friend of mine would come early, and he'd come in the back door. Dad would come in the back door, and I had told him the story about the episode and how, you know, I really needed to stop drinking, and I had quit for, 5 or 6 days, which is like, the biggest deal in the world. And that I, thought I needed
5 or 6 days.
Yeah, it was like everything should change.
I thought you were going to say 5 or 6 months.
No, I was like 5 or 6 days. Like that should be enough to fix all my problems. And that I wanted to go to this group, and that they said I need to go to AA, and I just hadn't gone there. And so he had come in the back door, and we went up these little stairs. We walked through this little cafe that I owned, and I let him out the front door. It was wintertime. The sidewalk was shoveled. There was a big bank of snow just opposite that, and then the road. And I opened the door. I let him out. He took about 2 steps, walked over, and he picked up an AA step book that was laying there.
Right outside the front of your
Right outside
restaurant.
the front of my restaurant in the snow. And he turned around and he said, I think this is for you.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And he handed it to me.
So you're 30 years old, and the bulk that we're talking about is the life that you were leading up until this point. Building bulk means, in our world, a collection or the accumulation of unmanageable behaviors
that are causing a lot of internal pain.
So you had your own business, you were running a restaurant, you had 2 small children, you were married, you had a house, I assume.
Owned a home.
You owned a home. How many employees did you have?
Probably had 6 or 8 employees full time at the time.
Okay, so you're responsible for at least 10, 12 other people's
Absolutely.
well-being.
Yep.
You're only 30 years old. This was your first foray into the food business?
Yes.
You'd left a very promising career with corporate department stores, with
Yes.
retail.
Yep.
But why couldn't you manage all of that? I mean, to me it sounds like a lot, but why? You were in it, you got in it. How did you get there, and how did you find it to become so unmanageable?
I think the story of my life, if I look back at my whole life even, is I wanted something that would be meaningful, but I didn't know that there would be meaning, so I was always looking for an escape. So leaving corporate America to start my own business, food business, felt like an escape. Getting married and having children, trying to have a family, felt like an escape. Like I was looking for something solid, some kind of roots. You know, my dad died when I was 12, and my life was very topsy-turvy after that. There was no anchor in my life anymore. You know, my mom did the best she could, but I was pretty much out of control. So you take this person who's out of control, and then they get old enough to try to start to create some control. And what I was trying to do was live into the picture of what I thought would make me happy. But I didn't know how to manage the people around me that I became responsible for. I craved all the responsibility, and then I didn't know how to manage it. And I didn't know how to take control of my own emotions, which were just wildly out of control. And so drinking, partying, smoking marijuana, all those things were just a way of, I'll do all this, but I'm going to escape from it at the same time.
Right.
And so this life was just completely out of balance. And, you know, before I had a car accident and killed myself, or, you know, some horrible thing happened, fortunately for me, I came up against this wall in myself that said something's got to change.
So that's the key here, is coming up against something in yourself, because the life principle, or the work principle, that is very important in this case, is getting yourself out of the way.
And that's what AA is all about on the very front end, is you turn yourself over to a higher power as you see it. AA doesn't ask you to believe in God, it doesn't ask you to believe in anything. Except find somebody, something. If it's your cat, if it's your mentor,
right.
If it's...
And it is sometimes for me, it's my cat.
Your cat. Find something that you can say, all right, everything I do is messing up my life. I need to start listening. I need to allow impressions in a new way. I need to start listening to someone else. And you throw yourself on the mercy of someone who seems like they can give you some balance.
So you had this moment of recognition that was, I cannot do this again. Or my life has become unmanageable. I cannot rely on myself to fix this. Because everything that you've done up until that point, whatever you were doing to try to fix whatever was broken in your life, you were just layering fix upon fix upon fix. So now you're trying to manage all these fixes. You get married, you have kids, you get a house, you get a business, you get employees. All of these things taking on more responsibility are just these layers of fixes that have become now a burden instead of really a problem solver.
Yes.
But, so was it pain? What did the wall look like for you? Was it pain? Was it frustration? Was it loneliness? Was it fear? Or something else, something a little less negative?
It was humiliation. I was humiliated by the fact that I was out of control. I was humiliated by it. And I knew I was letting people down. And I knew that when I started drinking, I said later, I used to drink like I had somewhere to go, like I was going to get somewhere. And the more I drank, the closer I thought I was getting to that place. But all I was doing was really distancing myself from everyone around me, and distancing myself from my own essence, you know. So, I hit bottom, and that's a shock that a lot of people need. Unfortunately, some people never hit bottom. Some people have to go way so far down before they hit bottom that they can't really come back.
Right.
And some people can nurse their life along
for a really long time
and never hit bottom. And unfortunately, that's not a great solution either, because learning to allow something else in,
well, you know,
learning to get yourself out of the way is a wonderful path to something new and different.
There's this acceptance in our culture of strength. So if you're unhappy in your relationship or your life or your job, that the more you can cope and the stronger you can be and the longer you can live with the misery, right, that's infecting your life, that you're a tough cookie and you're strong. So for some people, they can take that element of strength and cope with an unhappy life for a very long time and never actually hit bottom because they're right at that line of I can manage this.
Yeah.
But in your case, and in a lot of people's cases, they don't have the strength to cope for a long period of time, and they dive down to that bottom level very quickly. In your case, you hit it at 30, which is fairly quickly. That's young.
Yeah. There was still plenty of time to recover.
When you're 25, it's not so young, but when you're our age, 30 is young. So you said, so you looked at Lynn. You went into work the next day, and you were like, was there something about her? Did she talk about this stuff? Was there something trustworthy about her? What was it about her that made you attracted to her support, or that made you think she could support you?
Well, Lynn, her issue was weight. She had a weight problem that she was always working with. And of course, here she is working in a kitchen, but that was her skill, and it's kind of like the alcoholic who works in a bar. It's not a great fit, but that's where she was. And she would talk about being in a group a little bit, and she was always very careful about what she ate. There's something just very mindful about her, something calming, and
which is attractive to somebody who's not at all calm.
Right. And I didn't have a lot of other, it wasn't like I had a lot of choices. She was just an obvious one. I guess if I did have other choices, I would have gone to her. It just seemed like she knew something. I can't say. There was something, there was an attraction there. There was something magnetic that was happening. She was absolutely the very first person I went to. And I didn't go to her and say, I want to be part of what you're doing. I went to her and said, I have a problem. And she responded with, I may have some people that can help you. So I think that's an interesting dynamic around it. I didn't go there saying, I want to be part of this group. I need you guys to fix me or something. It wasn't like that. But as soon as she said, I know some people that might be able to help you, that was it. And then when they wanted me to go to AA, well, then I ended up with Step Book in the Snow. I went that night.
To AA?
I was there. I was at a meeting.
How did that go?
My name is Buck, and I'm an alcoholic. I was in. I wanted to own it. I got a real dose of humility, and I went and I wanted to own it, that my life was out of control. And I went to AA. The first thing I recognized in stopping drinking was I had all this time on my hands. I would get home from work and I'd be like,
now what do I do?
I can actually do something. Like, I don't have to just start drinking and waste my evening. And I started realizing how much I actually drank and wasted time. So AA, I probably went for a month, and then it just wasn't going to work for me. There wasn't enough there for me. So I went to Lynn again and said, I'm ready. Like, I want to do this thing with your friends. And so they invited me to a one-on-one meeting. And I met with Richard and Joanne. We went out to a restaurant and we got started.